Hello. Welcome to the AppleInsider Podcast. I'm William Gallagher, our sponsor this week. Squarespace, Nord, Stella, and Claude by Anthropic. More about all of that later. But first, it is time. I've got to ask this. Wes Hilliard, you're the guy who loves the invites thing. You're into parties, events. You have Super Bowl people over. Is there anything more exciting than the dates being announced for WWDC?
Yes, infinitely so, because it's the same week every year.
Well, tell me you plan your holidays around this, don't you?
I'm pretty sure that in the past it was slightly more variable, where you had to kind of play a gamble between week 1 and week 2, and people would be buying their hotels and plane tickets to San Jose like 6 months in advance, just on the idea that it could be the first week of June. Now, more recently, and I'd have to look at this, but I'm fairly certain, at least in the last several years, it has been the first week of June. I have some pages that I update with dates for WWDC, and so often in the last few years, I'm just changing an 8 to a 9 and a 9 to an 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Depending on the day of the week. I get you. Well, actually, I genuinely am excited by it. The holiday thing is moot because I just don't take holidays. But I always look forward to WWDC. This one feels simultaneously as if it's been announced earlier than usual. I don't think it has, but it feels like it. But also, like, it's still quite far away. I mean, it's June 8th to 12th. And all we really care about is June the 8th, really, isn't it? But last week, or possibly the week before, when we were talking about the way Siri keeps not being improved, I was saying in the olden days, when you had a major feature at this time of year, you'd hold it to the next one. It looks like that's what's going to happen with this. Am I reading this right? Reading the runes right? We won't get a decent Siri until iOS 27? WWDC? Let's
get to that in just a second. First, I want to ask you about the logo. Did you read into their invite any? Is there any criminology we can pull on the invite art?
I can tell you it was spelt correctly.
I don't know. They're still spelling it WWDC instead of...
yeah, but, it's kind of... they pronounce it dub, so
I'm gonna put my my prediction out there and say the 26 portion of it having this giant spotlight coming through the back tells me that this is two things. It's improved, like, dark mode, almost a metallic styling for liquid glass, and we're going to have a lot more illuminance throughout liquid glass. That is my prediction.
What would illuminate more?
Like light coming through the UI, shiny bits, things like that.
No, I get illuminate. I'm just trying to think. I'm going through macOS in my head now, and liquid glass seems to kind of slightly obfuscate what's behind it rather than... I mean, it makes certain things bigger, like it magnifies it as you go across them, but I'm not really lighting things. What am I missing there?
Well, so back to your original question, because there's really nothing to see here. It's some letters. It's either horizontal or vertical, depending on which invite you're looking at. They really did nothing here. The whole AI situation, we're at a weird moment right now when we're recording of 26.4 released. Hooray! 26.5 has not started its beta cycle. We have no idea what's going to be in 26.5, and within a couple of days of this recording, we will know what's in 26.5, theoretically, unless Apple waits a whole week, which has happened before, but it's rare. Who knows?
Yeah.
This is where we are right now. Nothing has changed. This is Schrodinger's cat, right? Is it Schrodinger?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's dead or alive.
It's both dead and alive, William. Yeah. It's both dead and alive until you open the box. So AI is coming and not coming at the same time until we get 26.5. The thing is, all the rumors up until this point have said spring. And then randomly Gurman started saying 26.4, only because or not 20, but 18.4 came out in the spring last year. So last year when this was delayed, he said, oh, well, the same release as this one next spring, 26.4 presumably, or 19.4 at the time, would have the AI updates. And he's been clinging to that .4 ever since. But I think it was just mostly out of the idea that, well, the .4s come out in spring, so we're going to stick to that one. I don't think there's ever been anything really behind that. Everyone else has said spring. So spring has only just sprung. I think 26.4 might have released on the second day of spring or something like that. I think it's like the 23rd or something. So it came right at the cusp of it. So technically you could say it launched in spring, but that's pushing it a little bit, I think, especially in Apple parlance, which usually when they say we're launching in spring, they mean the last day of spring, not the first day. Yes. So anyway, just all that to say, I wouldn't lose hope for 26.5 having some element. Now, this isn't going to be the everything dream factory fancy version, but I expect we're going to see the beginnings of an LLM-backed Siri with the ChatGPT component, not ChatGPT, but Gemini trained Apple Foundation models, and that type of stuff coming in. We're going to see some very basic stuff, like what was promised in 2024 is finally going to show its face, because really, honestly, that is the basic like table stakes of the feature set. So I have a feeling like we could see that kind of stuff. But 27, which has already begun being rumored and has been rumored for a while from Gurman and others, we're going to see more improvements. Now, there's always the chance that Apple skips out on this altogether, and the next time we hear about Apple Intelligence is WWDC, which, fine, if that's the case, then that's, not so fun for us, because that's all the way in September before it launches.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't believe that's going to happen. We have a lot of time between now and September to fit some more releases, and Apple has this Gemini stuff more or less ready from what we understand. But what's coming in 27 is further refinements. So instead of it just being, oh, here's your new Siri with an LLM backend, we're taking it a step further and making it into more of an interactive paradigm similar to a chatbot, but there's no destination app. There's no, app you open to have a conversation with it, but instead the assistant we interact with today via voice or pressing the side button or whatever, that will have a interface closer to a chatbot with memory, with buttons like ask knowledge base or search web built into it, kind of like how visual intelligence works today.
Okay. It feels like you're expecting things to be more eked out, where I would have said Apple probably needs a big splash for it. And either they have a big splash now or they have it in 27, because if it comes out now, all they can say in 27 is, well, it's a bit better. It's improved.
This is one of those weird positions. We're seeing a lot of stuff around here. The Information had a story that basically confirmed everything I've been saying about how Apple's using Gemini this whole time. They're distilling Gemini into smaller models and using those models to train Apple models. And that's basically what we've been getting at this whole time here on AppleInsider. Apple isn't going to just put Gemini into your phone. It's building Apple Foundation models, and the best way to do that is through distillation and training, which the Information has confirmed Apple is doing. It's all happening. The big splash thing, though, is just getting anything out at all. The stakes at this point are, I guess, higher than ever, but the expectations are lower than ever, because everyone's kind of lost faith in Apple at this point, because they've been listening to this doom and gloom reporting cycle of Apple's failed and they're incapable of releasing anything useful, when in fact all they want to do is release something actually good instead of hot garbage. I mean,
yeah, you hear the hesitation. I agree with you, and I don't agree with you. The only thing that stops me agreeing with you is there's more than just the bad press about it. There is this thing which, yet again, for some reason, I experienced more than you, that Siri got worse. Now, waiting for it to get better is one thing. It becoming worse
I agree with you
breaks
that
my belief in it.
there are portions of Siri that have fallen apart, unfortunately, because of their work in Apple Intelligence, and they kind of got halfway through implementing certain things and then stopped because they reset the clock and then never went back to undo what they did. So it's just been stuck in this weird broken state for a year plus. So I agree with you that like something needs to change. This thing needs fixed. There's the stuff I use it for isn't broken, thankfully, but I can understand how things that used to just work don't anymore, and that is frustrating. But that's even more the point. Apple needs to launch something. And
yes, except you've actually changed my mind slightly on this, or moved me further away. I accept the logic that Apple's changed gears, reset the clock, moved on, but that means they have allowed Siri to stay bad when it was previously working. I don't understand why they couldn't have rolled it back to a previous model before they're carrying on with this. And that actually sounds like Apple not caring that much.
I don't think
about
it's
it.
that.
I'm starting to get annoyed.
I think
by Apple.
I think it's complicated. Is the thing is
I'm
changing
sure it is.
This
It's
stuff
just,
is a lot of work, and they didn't want to undo the work they already did. When I mean, again, the functions that most people use still work. It's just the
well, you see, that's where I don't know how you get away with this. Setting alarms, asking for something to be played, adding to a playlist, asking for directions to somewhere, stuff that, I mean, I don't want to underestimate how clever it is, but it was clever and working before. Now, it's so very often, I mean, why in the world do I have to ask Siri to set an alarm twice before it will do it?
Maybe it's
no
the
difference
Brexit
in the
version
tone.
of Siri.
Okay, well, that's not an upsetting topic.
So,
okay, you got me off there.
To be more specific, look at the wider industry and where it is. We've seen a lot of news this week that people are trying to sweep under the rug because it is terrible for the industry. We're seeing a lot of stocks slip. We're seeing a lot of investors turn and run. This bubble is very much mid-pop, basically, from our perspective. So one of the first things I saw this week that really told me, oh, this is getting really bad, is OpenAI canned Sora. And that was
I want to talk about that. Yes.
The video production app. And we'll get into that more in a second, but it was costing them something like $5 a video to produce.
Right.
They sunk billions of dollars into this thing that earned them nothing in return. And that, plus they just announced that they're no longer moving forward with their adult, chat bots, their porn bots, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I missed that bit.
Yep.
They've dropped. Okay.
And if they're backing off of that, there's a problem, because that is where any industry turns when they're in trouble or when they're trying to evolve past their baseline, because sex sells. And for them to just say, never mind, maybe for regulatory reasons, I don't know, but more likely for financial reasons, it's clear that OpenAI is running out of runway, and investors are no longer as impressed as they were. They're looking to others like Claude and Gemini and these other platforms that are evolving differently. And
right. No, I'm with you. I just think my mind in that conversation going off in 5 different routes. Let's knock one bit on the head. Siri and not coming things. You're much more positive about this. Yes. I look at it now, actually since speaking to you right now, that Apple broke Siri. Apple didn't bother to fix it. So why do I believe they're going to get it right next time? I hope they are, but I need convincing.
And this is the point I was trying to make is, this is the perfect time for Apple to strike with literally the bare minimum. Just announce that it's here in 26.5, that the beginnings of a revamped Siri that will see even more evolution through the fall. Like they do that all the time. They'll say more coming in the fall when we know they're talking about iOS 27.
Okay.
Like this would be the time to strike, because it's clear that their competitors are beginning to struggle for relevance and for people to care, because the fatigue around AI is just increasing more and more every day. The usefulness of these things is at its peak, but for the things that are boring and simple and straightforward, not for world-changing, ending every war and ending world hunger and enslaving humanity, whatever. Like, that was never going to happen. So the promises are showing their cracks. OpenAI is running out of money and runway, and Apple has an opportunity to step in here and say, here is a reasonable use of this technology that runs on your device, that isn't going to require us to destroy a rural town with coal-burning factories. We're going to do this today. We're going to press this button. Bam, 26.5 comes out in the middle of May. And then there you go. We have now entered this space with something that's actually useful, and people are going to lose their minds.
One thing actually I just want to take a second to say, we're talking about basically waiting for things and the amount of time things might take. 27 coming out in September and all that stuff. AppleInsider Plus this week is actually about Apple waiting for things. Has Apple ever decided, things last a bit too long? Can we have them switch off the day after AppleCare runs out or something like that? And also the concomitant thing of how long should a product last. And this was your idea. In the moment you said it, I remembered I won an iPad Air, the original one, and I bought an iPad Air. Gave one to my wife, loaned the other one to my family, and my family broke theirs and didn't care about it. I got quite upset about that. Whereas the one Angela has she's still using it today. It's lasted a decade now or more. Should everything last that way? Is it unreasonable to expect it to? That'll be AppleInsider Plus. But how about, rather than all the waiting stuff, let's look at right now, because like you said, iOS 26.4 is out. I actually wrote a thing on Apple Insider saying, well, there's no Siri yet, but there's a couple of bits, and I'm thinking, some emoji, thrill me now. But there was a thing this morning as we record this. I hope this is true. Do you know about the alleged warning in Terminal? Have you come across that?
No, because my Mac hasn't been on in 2 weeks. Can you tell me about it?
Oh, okay. I think you just do this to hurt me, but okay. The Terminal thing. For anybody who doesn't know, Terminal is this command line interface on the Mac, and that seems like a crazy thing to have. But you run Terminal, you type in commands, you get access to all the fiddly stuff that Apple hasn't kind of surfaced as a user setting in settings. You can things like change the speed of the dock appearing or disappearing, just countless things. But it's also incredibly powerful because it's incredibly dangerous. The things you can do to your Mac, it's really, really common for somebody new to it like me to type in a command somewhere and get something wrong and wreck things. But it's also common for hackers and scammers and phishers, really, to persuade you to open the Terminal app and just paste this in. And now, according to one person on Twitter, in macOS 26.4, if you paste in something, it looks like if it pastes certain things, if it looks like it could be malware, the Mac will actually say, no, this looks like malware. And it tells you a little bit about why, and then says, basically up to you.
All right, William, so all you got to do is get some malicious code, paste it in your terminal, and see if this shows up.
Yeah, no, you should have let me finish there, because that's why I doubted this at the top. It isn't available everywhere. The guy shows a very convincing screenshot. There's one bit that bothers me about it, but he claims it isn't everywhere. A French website I was reading is saying, well, we think we've seen it, but we can't prove it. And I can't get it on here either. So the thing is, it could just be a weird guy deciding, what the hell, let's make this up. But it's such a good idea that I think Apple should do it anyway.
I think it's reasonable to assume that there's repeated types of commands that this happens with, that Apple has probably got a library for that this appears for. So you would need some specific command to make this trigger, and it's not going to be easy to figure out which ones will trigger it, because Apple's not going to tell you which commands and have like a list of like, here's all the ways you can scam people.
True. So there's one more fact. This source says you only get the warning once. which I don't think is very. I mean, okay, if you actually know what you're doing in terminal and your intent is, I can see that. Yeah, I do want to post it. Could get a bit irritating, but sometimes scammers will have you on the phone saying type this, and so you're kind of under some pressure here. You believe them because you don't know any better, and then to only get a warning once like that goes away so easily. Yeah, I like it, but I want more.
Here's a simple life hack. Don't do this ever. There should never be a situation where anyone via email or even like you search for something on the web and click on a link and one of the instructions is paste this into your terminal. Like, just, it's never going to happen. Just don't, like, because the people doing this are 99.9% chance of being malicious. The only time you should ever do this is if you know that is part of the process. Like, for example, I know that if I want to have a shortcut, wake my Mac and enter my password and enter Sidecar, that I'm going to be using various things. Like, I'm going to be in the terminal doing an SSH command. Like, that is all fair, but that's also because I know that that's what it takes to do it. And if I'm in a trusted resource, great. But if you don't know what you're doing, then just don't do it. That's that simple. Similar rules apply. I don't know how prevalent this is in the UK, William, but in the US, there's scam texts that go around that are trying to get past Apple's scam text systems, which I don't know if listeners know, but if you get a text with a link from an unknown number, that link is unclickable until you reply. So in the scam text, it will say, reply yes, and then tap the link that appears.
Yes.
Like, because they are trying to instruct people how to violate their own device. So if that's the kind of instruction that you're seeing, like for that or for terminal and stuff, it's clearly there because they're trying to mess with you. Just stay away from that stuff, please. Just find better ways, find more reliable sources, because 9 times out of 10, it's trying to make you do something bad.
I've got to say, there are actually quite a few articles on AppleInsider.com with terminal instructions of how to do useful things, but I didn't know that one about the password and things. I must ask you, how about that? That could be really handy. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Even if you're not already a Squarespace user, I know you know it's for making websites because you'll have heard so many people talking about it so much and relying on it for so long. All true, there are countless sites using Squarespace, but what I don't think you get until you use it yourself is just how comprehensive and powerful and just big Squarespace really is. Squarespace is for making websites, definitely, but it's actually an entire platform designed to help you stand out and to succeed online in so many ways. So if you're just starting out, there's no need to look anywhere else. What you need to begin with and then what you will need as you grow, it's all here. If you've had websites for a long time, everything you need to refresh them, to radically overhaul them, is right here too. It's about design and making a splash with a great looking website, which is actually what I'm looking to do with Squarespace once I can make my mind up from the countless tremendous designs available just right there off the shelf. But then it's also about showcasing your offerings with a professional website, about growing your brand, and it's about getting paid all in one place. Squarespace, for example, makes it easy to take, say, the videos that I make for workshops, writing workshops, and upload them to my own site, and then even monetize that content by adding a paywall. But then, too, there are email campaigns. There are analytics that are so easy to use that you'll use them. Listen, just head to squarespace.com/AppleInsider for a free trial. And then, when you're ready to launch, use the offer code AppleInsider to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. And thank you to Squarespace for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast. This episode is brought to you by NordStellar. You've heard of NordVPN, which is a VPN for individuals and businesses, but the same company also makes NordStellar, which is proactive protection for businesses of absolutely any size. NordStellar is an entire threat exposure management platform, which means it detects cyber threats against your company and it helps you take control before those can escalate. It monitors the dark web. It searches for targeted attacks against your firm, against your brand, or against your executives. For all of your security teams, NordStellar can provide contextualized insights. It can track adversaries and provide malware logs. For C-level managers, it provides faster detection and prioritization. It offers real-time visibility of risks, and It also strengthens the firm's compliance posture. But then there's also this. For your entire company and your customers, using Nordstellar means safeguarding against phishing, against identity abuse, or against account takeovers. Do not wait until your company's data is already for sale on the dark web. Protect your business today with Nordstellar. Nordstellar has flexible plans that scale with your business size, but right now you can get an exclusive offer. Unlock your 10% discount on Nordstellar with the coupon code NordAppleInsider-10-Nordstellar, or just mention it to Nordstellar. And thank you to Nordstellar for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast. Okay, so we are putting off waiting for WWDC. We're not thinking about using Terminal. There is also in iOS 26.4, well, there are more emojis. Okay, yay. But the playlist thing, I have a feeling you and I will probably have different opinions about Apple Music playlists in 26.4. Are you already using this AI enhanced music selection choice thing?
This is Apple Intelligence. I believe it's running on device. This is interesting. It reminds me of the Beats sentence from back in the day, but it's definitely a more complex version because you're able to basically say whatever you want. It has guardrails. It runs into walls. Sometimes you can give it a prompt and it just has 3 things listed, and that's, you're expecting a playlist, not 3 songs, and you've stumped it when you only get like 3 to 5 songs in the list.
Have you been trying?
Yeah, so it's funny. I'm trying different language. Like, first I was just trying something like the sentence, like I'm at a barbecue and want some jazzy throwbacks. And like,
sorry, I thought you meant you were doing it in French sometimes. Okay, yes, okay, right.
So that's like the Beats sentence. Whereas lately I've been trying more specifically AI type commands, like generate a playlist that features lo-fi hits that would be great for cleaning your house, stuff like that. So I gave it a prompt.
I'm sorry, think of the musicians who've worked so hard to write, record, produce that, and they're slotted in a category that's while hoovering.
Everyone go look up Chill Hop on Apple Music. They are present there, and they have excellent playlist selections
while you're doing your windows. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Or just, focus work. So here's one I gave it for you, William. Generate a playlist a classical music lover would enjoy while writing about a Mac.
Okay.
And the link's in the show notes, and you can tell me if this is anything meaningful to you.
Well, as long as it's got Marla in there, then okay. All right. I gotta say, I should try this out, and I've been a bit dismissive of it because I tend to, for years I would kind of not listen to much music, and now I'm in a lot of new artists and having a very good time with them. It's just the last big Apple Music feature was the DJ mixing between tracks, and I found on some of the ones I like, it's awful. The clash between them, the beats don't match. It's just dreadful. So I switched that off, and it means I've kind of ignored new things. But I will follow that prompt, and I will.
This is an interesting tool. You can start with a song. You can start with your own playlist that's already complete, and you can edit that playlist using prompts. You can start with nothing, just enter a prompt, get a playlist, and then continue entering prompts to stylize that playlist. There's a million ways this can go. People are going to play around with this, I'm sure. My guess is the back end of this is very basic. It's basically just going to look at tags that are already assigned to various songs and just look for, they said barbecue, that means outdoor activity, right? And then use outdoor activity to find a playlist that's labeled outdoor activity, right? I have a playlist curated by Apple Music. No, it's not Apple Music. Funny enough, the company I buy some cleaning products from had an Apple Music playlist that they published.
Okay.
It's they did some synergy, and I decided to dive in. I was like,
I'm not knocking that.
Yeah,
no,
so the playlist is like cleaning with the windows open or something like that, and I thought that was really really fun.
I should say, actually, I misunderstood when you said you'd written the prompt that, well, I'll go off and try the prompt, but you meant you have actually done the playlist. So I can look at it, and there is no Mahler, but there is Max Richter is there, Arthur Rubinstein's there, some John Williams stuff. I don't recognise a lot of the others, but I will have a fun time listening to this. Thank you very much. Classical Focus, Writing with Elegance by Wes Hilliard will be in the show notes for you.
Yeah, that's what it titled it. It titled it for me and everything. It's
I see the Mac elegance. It works. Yeah.
It's interesting. It'll be something to play with. I don't generally make my own playlists very often, William. I like Apple's human curated playlists, but I can see this being a jumping off point because I tried. One of them was give me the playlist I would have as an emo kid in 2006 on my iPod, and it pretty much completely messed that up. So, because I think it clung to 2006 too hard, because it's like, oh, he said 2006, so every song in this playlist should be from 2006, which is not what I was looking for. And emo was taken to mean more emotional than grungy, and so it was a very wide swing of stuff. So it doesn't, of course, AI can't think. They can't reason. There's some nuance going to be lost, and I could probably put the same prompt in 3 more times and get better results, but it's going to mess up certain contexts, certain things, because it doesn't have context. It's a random word generator, basically. So it's a neat tool. It's worth playing with, and I'm sure other people will get better results, but I might just stick with my Apple human curation.
Well, human curation is one of the reasons I like Apple Music, but I've realised I don't even know where to ask this stuff. Is this a type to Siri thing, or is it just I'm looking at Apple Music on my Mac now and it's inviting me to search, but
Mac,
nothing else?
I don't think Mac got the feature.
Oh.
Not right away anyway, but this is found in your Apple Music. You go to your playlists section and then hit the plus button, create new playlist. Right. And then what do you want to hear is pops up, and you type into that, and it says below it, beta, Playlist Playground may create unexpected results. You cannot ask for intimate playlists or anything of the sort. It just ignores you. So there are guardrails. So
okay, I don't know. I mean, are we talking Barry White or something like that? But
yeah. So
okay,
it's fine. It's a toy. It's more Apple Intelligence stuff. It makes sense for existing, and I'm sure someone's going to be like, the OpenAI ChatGPT model that plugs in Apple Music is better. Sure, whatever. I don't care. I was never going to use it in the first place, but now that it's here, it's Apple Intelligence, it's private, and on my iPhone, I'm more likely to use it. I'm never going to install these third-party things and bother with them. I don't care. So
no, okay. No, I think I'm with you there, although I wasn't with the first party one. Hang on, this is becoming the party of the first part. And yes, so, okay, I will experiment, and I will thank you for it. But there is a thing about all this. This is, of course, AI. We've already touched on this.
I didn't want to move on just yet, because Genius I wanted to mention first.
I actually thought that was exactly the same thing. What's Genius if it isn't Genii? No. Okay. So, as in Apple Store geniuses, this is human people doing what they used to do.
So Genius was a function of iTunes for a long time, which basically took the music and even TV shows and movies you purchased and used that as a recommendation engine. It was buried in iTunes, but you could find it, and it would say, if you bought this, so you might like this. That was basically what it did, and it was very algorithmic, very machine learning, and it was fine. Genius is back in the Apple TV app on Apple TV.
Apple TV. Mm-hmm. Right, sorry, my mind went 2 ways then. One was Genius is back, and this time it's personal. Mm-hmm. And the other one is, Apple TV. I love my Apple TV, but I don't need it to tell me what to watch.
It appears to only be on the tvOS app. I can't find it anywhere else, or maybe it's just hiding. It's in the home view, not in the store view. And if you scroll for a category, I think it's just called Genius, There's a bunch of colorful buttons, and they're all categories. Suspenseful documentaries, movies you can cry to, stuff like that. But the main category is editor's choice. And it made me realize very quickly that this entire Genius feature is human built. There's no AI involved anywhere. The Apple has a curation team who has put together these lists, these categories. And what you do is say, click on editor's choice, and it shows editor's choice, and it's Pluribus and some Apple TV properties and Zootopia 2, like just some recent releases. And then you know, for me anyway, because it's going to be based on who's selecting it. You can go and select, is it for me or a different person on the Apple TV? And then the next option is, do you want it for TV and movies, or just TV or just movies? And then the third category thing is, which genre do you want it to be for? And I figured out this wasn't AI because I went to me, TV shows, anime, and it showed up no results.
Oh, I see. That is proof. Good point.
Because the human curators didn't bother making anime recommendations, which fine.
Or they haven't got to it.
Or they haven't got to it yet. So at least in the editor's choice category, because there's definitely plenty of anime that would fit an editor's choice category. I mean, it's a very huge... it's not a genre. Anime is a... God, I can't think of the word. It's a... medium. It's a medium, yeah. Yes. So it's a very popular medium these days, and so I could. And Apple finally acknowledged anime a few years ago by actually adding an anime section to Apple TV's selection menus and adding anime to Apple Music. So this is only a matter of time, but it proved that this isn't algorithmically or AI-edly whatever going through and pulling stuff. But I do think the existence of this feature is one of the reasons why a future Apple TV model will have AI, because it will then use AI to recommend in those places.
And I will use AI to not pay any attention to it. So it works out.
It's not necessary. Like, for example, you know, I'm a human being. I'm interested in art and watching television like anyone else. I get my recommendations from other humans who write about stuff or stuff I'm already interested in. I don't need to be told that I like Star Wars. I just go watch Star Wars. But also I know that I like anime. And one of the things me and my wife did yesterday was we went on Crunchyroll to the website. Actually had a post announcing all of the spring anime coming. They do seasonal releases, spring and winter and whatnot. And so we watched the trailers for all of the upcoming spring anime and picked out the ones we wanted to bother with. And it wasn't that many this spring season, sadly, but there's a couple standing out for sure. And that's, you know, kind of the process for that. And so take that and apply it to everything else. I like putting the work in and the thought, but sometimes maybe you're a parent who just wants to put Bluey on the TV, and that maybe you need a Genius thing to say, this is what the kids like, here you go. I still want somewhere Apple to make video playlists a thing. Let me recreate what TV was like in 2004 when I would get home.
Oh, I've done this. Yes, I programmed a Christmas once to have classics from British television, and they came on at certain times because I made them come at certain times. And if you miss the start, tough. Well,
you can kind of do this.
The experience.
There's software programs you can do this with, especially on Mac. I think Plex has it. But I to this day, I can tell you the television schedule from the moment I got off the bus from school before 4 p.m. It would be Green Acres, Andy Griffith Show, then the evening news, then Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens, and then the 8 p.m. programming schedule for that night.
Goodness. I used to work on a listings magazine, and I couldn't tell you anything about British lineups. Okay.
So I'm just like, you know, wouldn't it be cool to say, maybe like Genius, say, give me the classic Toonami 9 p.m. to midnight cycle. Give me Sailor Moon followed by Dragon Ball Z followed by Digimon, right? Just give me one random episode of each, And then when I hit that button again the next day, it gives me the next sequential episode, but of each show played in, you know what I mean? Like that would be so cool. And if, you know what? It doesn't even need to be Apple who does it. Someone go make that app and I'll pay you $1, but maybe I'll pay you $20. But anyway, it's just, that's the kind of stuff I think people want. And Apple, I don't know what their engineers are doing. I don't know how they consume media, but this feels like such an obvious approach.
Okay. Talking about obvious approaches and sticking with AI, there's a thing, actually, Amber Neely on Apple Insider wrote this really gorgeous piece. Gorgeous is a funny word, isn't it? Right? I mean, really thorough, very strong about Grammarly. Now, I don't like Grammarly. I've never used it for it, but I know you used to before you moved to writing tools. Do you know the story about what Grammarly's been doing that is so annoying to so many people?
Well, I don't understand why these people agree to talk to Nilay Patel, because he will rake them over the coals without any fear. And they still choose to sign a release and go on his podcast and get raked over the coals because they think, I don't know, they think they're going to go in there and like convince him of something. So Grammarly released a feature last fall, I think, that nobody even noticed, where sometimes if you had it turned on, it would pop up and say, Joanna Stern would have written it this way.
Wow.
And it would have her name and some suggestion. And that was, you know, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like Star View, or I don't know. It was some professional editor's suggestions or whatever. Nilay Patel was one of them. Basically, pick a name from our industry, and they were in there. And no permission, no pay, nothing. And what's even worse is the suggestions they were giving were garbage and completely unrelated to anything that person would ever say or do. Nilay Patel pulled out several examples of it saying, it's my name, this is a suggestion, I would never give that suggestion in a million years, this is garbage. And so the CEO went on this podcast. First off, people realized it exists earlier this year. Grammarly pulled it very quickly, and have basically been backpedaling since. But the problem is the CEO came on this podcast, and this was his mission statement, more or less. It was poorly thought out. It was poorly executed. We should have done better. And we apologize to anyone who was affected or whatever. But the idea that he kept presenting is we could have done it better, which is not the problem anyone really has with it. It was garbage no matter what you do with it. The problem was they were using people's names. So Nilay kept pressing him. How much should I get paid for you to have my name in this app? And he wouldn't answer. He'd be like, well, you know, and it finally came around to the CEO basically saying, well, aren't you happy that we're giving you this exposure? Like, this is everyone's dream as a writer, to be so well renowned that they would be included amongst other names like this. Shouldn't you be happy that you're a part of, like, and it just kept falling apart. The more you listen to this, the more you die inside. Amber was ready to cease by the time she was finished writing this editorial, and it was a very good piece. But basically, like, he referred to human beings as idea generators. Like,
well, I suppose not untrue, but okay.
Yeah, so everything about this was just bad and poorly handled. He was clearly handed some talking points, but he took it a step further and just kept coming off uncaring, like, you deal with it, we don't owe you anything, AI is the future, stop pushing back against, like, this is what the people want. And yeah, it was just really bad all the way around. And once again, it just, a couple years ago when Apple announced writing tools and proofread, that was one of the first things I did, was check to see if it was viable to replace Grammarly. And the second I replaced it. And that was when Grammarly had only just opened the door to AI, and it has been downhill ever since. So, because now all of their suggestions are basically generated and can be wrong, and it's been very poor.
That's disappointing, really. I mean, I didn't like Grammarly as it happens, but I knew people who did. I think you did as well. So it was doing a job, and they've decided to shoot themselves in the foot. So
well, they got purchased by Superhuman, which already
I see.
It was an email client that cost like $100 a year, and very much this odd amalgamation of let us do the stuff for you so you can do other stuff type of company. And the problem is with all of this AI talk of let the AI do it for you is so you can go and do more work. Kind of, it's a terrible mentality, because it's like you can increase production so you can increase production when the idea should be that you can increase production so you can work less for the same output, for the same income, and have more time for your life and loved ones and activities and things like that. But that's not how these people see it. They're like 10x your productivity, and that mentality is just painfully stupid to me.
Wes, work is my life. I want more of this. This episode is brought to you by Claude by Anthropic. And, well, actually, during this episode, Wes and I talk about AI. I mean, how can you not, really, these days? And Claude, of course, comes up. As I say to Wes, just about any time we debate AI, Claude is now where I turn to when I need things like some quick HTML done. So I'll be writing an article on how to use something, how to do something, and I end up with a series of steps you have to go through. But Claude will convert that into the format needed to make it look good on the Apple Insider site. And actually, same tool, different thing. The same thing has happened to me when I'm producing a magazine using Affinity. A writer sent me a screen grab of a really, well, no, trust me on this one, really long table that was required for the end of her article. But it was such a low-res screen grab. You could make out what it says, but it wasn't publishable, and there wasn't time to go back to her to see if it was possible to get a better one. So instead, I asked Claude to extract the text from that screen grab and then format the text into a HTML table like it does for my how-to articles. And then when it was done, Claude gave me a preview of that HTML, and I was able to take my own screen grab of this much, much clearer preview, and it was so clear, it was so good, I could just pop it straight into the magazine. Now, of course, it'd always be better if the original image were good enough, but without Claude, I would have been sitting there typing in 8 rows, 6 columns of text. It looked endless when I started it. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's the collaborator that actually understands your entire workflow and thinks with you, not for you. Whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that matter. Ready to tackle bigger problems? Sign up for Claude today and get 50% off Claude Pro when you use my link, claude.ai/AppleInsider. That's all lowercase, claude.ai/AppleInsider. Go there right now for 50% off your first 3 months of Claude Pro, which includes access to all of the features I've just been talking about. Claude.ai/AppleInsider. And thank you to Claude by Anthropic, well, both for supporting the Apple Insider podcast, but also for helping me out on that magazine when I was right on deadline.
You sound like the robot on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Earlier on, I was doing Barry White, and now I'm doing some sort of it's
Marvin.
One of those kind of days.
You ever watch that movie? I love that movie so much. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yes, I was there from the start with the radio show.
I'm sure you were. So, I mean, it was a stupid question because I knew you'd seen it, but also, come on.
I was in an online conversation with Douglas Adams once about how his version of the theme wasn't as good as the original. So get me, yeah.
Alan Rickman.
There were like 5,000 other
robot.
people.
That's all I need in my life, and I'm happy. But yes.
I caught myself about to say, how about some good news for AI? But why is this good news, William? It's just a small point of interest. Apple, allegedly behind in AI, is making a lot of money from it. It hasn't quite hit the billion yet, but it's expected to make $1 billion in this year from rival AI apps and their fee off the App Store. And I don't know why that entertains me so, but,
this is kind of
good on them.
We've been beating this drum for a long time, since even before Apple's WWDC in 2024, where they announced Apple Intelligence. All of these commentators, analysts, whatever financial market people were like, Apple's doomed. They have to make their own thing. They have to be out there. They're never going to make $1 in AI without it. And it's just like, you do understand Apple's business model, right? Like, and you're, literally your business is understanding Apple. So theoretically that is true, but none of these people ever quite understood that if AI costs money and you have to pay to use it, and you have to use it through an app, and you have to download that app from the App Store, Apple is going to make money from it, period. End of story. Yeah. So yes, this is tangential earnings through, and this is an estimate through some firm, which, take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. I'm sure that they've made plenty of money through this because they are making money through this. But it just goes to show that Apple has more than one way to make money from this stuff, because they're not charging for their own. Something to keep in mind. They have yet to introduce a pro version of anything that requires you to have iCloud Plus or requires you to pay an extra some amount of money to get access to. So
there does seem to be a weird disconnect between AI and money. That assumption of analysts, of course, but then also AI firms thinking it was fine to steal everything until their stuff was being copied and things, and then suddenly... It's wrong.
This is a broader conversation that won't fit in this podcast, but long story short is this stuff was never properly monetizable, especially since from the first day they were giving it away for free. And once you give something away for free, you're never going to be able to monetize it because people are just going to keep looking for the free version. And then putting ads in is still OpenAI's plan, I believe, right? Sora died because they didn't have a good way to monetize that, and inserting ads into that video feed would have just been disastrous. People would have just left the app. They would have generated their video, downloaded it, and posted it to TikTok, which is what they were doing anyway. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was no monetization there.
But there was money. Disney put in $1 billion to it, which I think they
withdrew the $1 billion
away.
So they've actually didn't put anything into it. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Disney,
I never used Sora. I never even played with it. I'd only vaguely heard the name before it was gone. So, but you said something like $5 a video or something. The production side of my head thinks that's pretty good, actually, compared to millions. But
them. So they cost it costs them, billions of dollars because there are millions of videos being made.
Yeah.
And they made virtually nothing off of it, right? That's the problem, is they got nothing in return for this stupid app that they made.
Their work was being used by other people and they weren't getting money from it. That's just crazy. Who would ever do that?
And Disney wanted to give them money so they could have Mickey Mouse doing stuff, and they were going to save those videos to Disney Plus for people to browse in vertical feeds. It was all very bad and dumb and stupid. Disney almost had a cool moment, except the new CEO basically put out a statement saying, we still intend on doing these types of partnerships. They could have said nothing, William. They could have just withdrew the $1 billion and walked away and evaluated from afar. But no, they had to double down and say, actually, no, we're still going to invest in AI and the future in some way. Just Sora is gone, so we're withdrawing this particular investment. OpenAI is still doing generated video through ChatGPT. The thing is this API is being turned off, and this particular Sora engine is going away. When it first released, it was completely without any guardrails. People were making SpongeBob SquarePants do 9/11.
Wow. Okay. Had to process that for a second.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's just bad. It was poorly executed, poorly done. People only cared when they could only cared when they were able to do things that broke copyright law. The minute that they started clamping down on that, people lost interest and walked away. Right. The lifespan of this thing was measured in months, and it made virtually no money for ChatGPT or OpenAI. So it was just bad all the way around. This again comes along with the news that they're giving up on their porn bots, and I don't know if this is a sign of that bubble popping, but I mean, if you look at the wider industry news of withdrawing investments, missed promises, and all this stuff, there is a lot of distrust happening in the AI space right now. and OpenAI is at the center. And a lot of people who aren't billionaire investors have been looking at OpenAI for a while, seeing the ticking time bomb, saying they're not going to survive this. Right? They're the company that is going to be bought out by someone else, right? To fund their AI industry. Like OpenAI is digging a hole deeper and deeper, and investor money only goes so far. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're wrong, but this is a sign of this is going very poorly.
Except we do have the OpenAI Johnny Ive thing to look forward to.
If that even survives this, I mean, once again, they're looking for ways to make money, right? Remember, this is the Spotify situation. Every decision Spotify makes is another way to get people to listen to less music so they can earn more money per user.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And Spotify has survived the past decade purely on investor money. OpenAI could be on the same track to basically be riding investor coattails into infinity because they keep convincing them that the next big thing is coming or whatever. But again, that's only earned through trust, and they keep burning these bridges. OpenAI doesn't have a product beyond its very expensive, you pay us money, you get more tokens system, which people do, and that is money. But the cost of the AI is the problem. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's an ungodly level of cost. Like, I remember Sam Altman saying something like, we have to find some $1 trillion by 2030 or we're going to be out of business. And that $1 trillion has to be spent making data centers and energy plants. So because they don't have the output, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the GPUs, they don't have the power, and they need all of that to continue at the pace that they have been. It just physically, there's a limit here. And investors don't want to hear about limits. They want to hear about the thing that will cure cancer that was promised. And it is not, it doesn't exist. So it's so weird that people still can look at this and say, it's going to get us to Mars. This is the technology that's going to end world hunger. And it just isn't. So let's move on. That's a conversation for another podcast, but it's so interesting watching this fall apart while Apple they're doing the tortoise and the hare. And Apple is very much the tortoise here. But if Apple can come out of this with an on-device, private, secure ecosystem of AI apps and tools that were ethically created, they are going to be the clear winner in all of this. They may have, lost multiple battles along the way, but that doesn't matter when at the end they're one of the only ones left standing next to maybe Google and Anthropic, right? So it's just a very interesting thing to watch from afar because I have no skin in the game. The only tools I still use is like I'm sure somewhere that I've forgotten in my workflows that I'm using some Apple AI related tool or whatever. But I don't have ChatGPT installed. I don't have Gemini or any of these other things installed. I'm not looking for this stuff. I'm not using it. I don't need it. I'm sure there's something out there that would make my life a little bit easier if I downloaded it and used it properly.
Yeah.
I don't care. Maybe in the future someone will make me care, but it is kind of fun to watch all this collapse, even if it takes the economy with it.
We're saying this in an edition of the AppleInsider Podcast that's sponsored by Claude from Anthropic. I do actually use Claude. I do like it for things, certain research tools. And it fixes some HTML for me. They have their place, and
it's proof in the pudding that we have our sponsors and we can have our opinions about our sponsors. We're not they don't pay us to be nice to them. And I'm not even being mean to Anthropic. Again, they're one of the ones I believe will pull through this in the end because they have a business model that OpenAI does not, and they're aiming towards more useful tools. And they were the ones that Apple almost partnered with because, again, they're the ones making better decisions than these other companies. So we'll see where it all ends up. I would like to see Anthropic pull through the other side. They've got some interesting ideas. These Claude computers that are run on Mac Minis, that's like all very interesting, even if I don't have any use for them. But like developers and stuff are seeing a lot of potential. Like when I talk about this stuff, I'm not talking about like getting help developing your app using like coding tools. I'm talking about people complaining that they don't know how to draw and that they need AI to make a picture for them or something, right? Like we're having different spectrums of different conversations. Because I am not anti-AI in the least bit. Like, that is not what I'm putting out there.
Well, actually, I just realised I switched to AI unconsciously when I found out that it could transcribe things.
Yeah.
But never could. I've said this before, years and years ago, like 7 or 8 years ago now, found an AI transcriber and it's gold. So
let me be clear.
Yeah, we're down. But
if I found a tool that was AI that did something for me useful, whether it was made by Apple or someone else, I have no doubt that I would use it. I'm not anti-AI. It's just nothing currently appeals, and I have found nothing. I'm not really looking either, but to be fair, but I'm not saying I will never, because that's not what I'm saying. It's just what exists today. I don't need to generate an 8-second video of Mickey Mouse smoking a cigar. I don't need to make a fake photo. I will go take a real photo. I don't need it to generate text for me. I'll write my text. I like it editing my text and telling me that I put a punctuation in the wrong place. That's great. But
okay,
as long as, theoretically it's not hallucinating those, and I keep a very close eye on that. It's usually run the check. Oh yeah, that's right. I should put that there. Oh, that's not a word. Thank you for that. Right? Like those kinds of things. I'm not letting it rewrite it for me without checking what it says.
Is there a way to tell it, yes, it is a word, I've just made it up, I'm a writer, I've decided
you just hit
it's
ignore.
a word, get on with it. Oh, it's not the same.
I hit ignore a lot, actually, because it wants to put punctuation marks in titles and stuff like that. So
okay, we might have a debate about that, because I can think punctuation, I mean, the Philosopher's Stone without punctuation would be a bit weird.
I'm not going to put a period at the end of my title, William, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's funny enough, I was dealing with that earlier today. Somebody had done it. One thing, we did mention earlier about AppleInsider Plus being about like planned obsolescence, but there was a reason for it. It's because there are things going on now, and you wanted to talk about some of that now in the main show. What's put that in your head for now? What's going on?
Dark Sword and what's the other one? It sounds like COVID. I was making fun of it the other day, but it's a
wait. Have we got to the stage where we can make fun of COVID? Tragedy plus time equals comedy. Okay.
It's a C word. Anyway, there's multiple. There's a hacking kit that the United States government made, whose name has escaped me, or allegedly made, actually. We can't say that they made it because we don't have definitive proof, but it seems like they made it and it got leaked.
Wow.
Yes, so there's that hacking kit, and then Dark Sword. Both relied heavily on various like WebKit vulnerabilities. Anyway, Apple went and patched these things. But they didn't just patch it in 26 or 18. They went all the way back to iOS, basically they went back to the iPhone 6S.
Oh, wow. Okay.
With software updates to patch these very terrible vulnerabilities, right?
Oh, that's great.
And the Apple Watch got patched all the way back to the Series 1. Sorry to Series 0 users, but...
Wow. Okay.
So 10 years worth of devices have been patched for these recent vulnerabilities. And I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, if you're going to hack somebody, it needs to be worth your while, I presume.
Karuna.
Never done it.
Is the name of the...
Karuna.
Karuna. It's not Corona.
I think I've been there on holiday. But, okay. Yeah. People who have information on their iPhones that is in some way valuable, are they likely to still have a 10-year-old Apple Watch with it all?
So here's the thing. These exploits... normally, we would say, don't worry about exploits. They're expensive, and they're not going to target you. That's conspiracy talk. Like, the government there isn't a guy following you around. You don't have your own personal FBI agent, right? All those jokes.
Okay.
You don't have to worry, generally speaking, about these things because they are expensive. Karuna was very expensive. Like I said, it was made by a nation state that resembled the United States of America, that could very easily get into your device and basically expose everything that you do on it to an external hacker or let them take control of it. Dark Sword, I believe, is similar. I didn't really read much about Dark Sword, but all I know is it's bad and it's fixed. So I would have to go read more about it. But anyway, the reason why we're telling people, hey, this is important is because like Dark Sword was uploaded to GitHub for free. Okay. These are now out there in a way that they weren't before.
Oh, I see. Wow.
So Tommy Hacker, 17-year-old jokester, could just go infect their entire elementary school if they wanted to, because all their parents and all the fifth graders have their parents' iPhone 7s, right? You know what I mean? Like that is the kind of stuff that is dangerous because hand-me-downs and older devices are still in use. Other countries tend to use these older devices for longer. They may not be getting Liquid Glass or Apple Intelligence, but Apple updated them for years with security updates and stopped updating them for the longest time because nothing big enough came along. These were big enough to prompt updates to older iOS, macOS, and watchOS versions, and Apple released them. Whereas another problem happening, to close up here, is the United States just banned, this is very stupid, so please forgive me. They banned the sale of any foreign-made router going forward.
Okay, is that for security or because presumably there's a US router industry?
Well, so Netgear is a United States router company that makes their routers in Taiwan. So it's still foreign made. So the idea here is you can keep using the routers you have. You can buy the routers that are currently released, but all future routers must be either built in the United States or, now this is the kicker, pass the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security check. Basically, you send in an application saying, I make a router. Can I sell mine in the United States? And they say, sure. So now the DoD and DHS are directly involved in picking who gets to sell routers in the United States. Clearly, one of those will be Netgear. Clearly, one of those will probably not be TP-Link. So they're picking the winners and losers in the market. Anyway, and the reason for this, where this all began, was because there was some severe vulnerabilities discovered in the 2020s, in the last few years, that were being used as botnets. There was this big thing in the UK or the EU, I believe, where foreign people, adversaries, were hacking into entire networks using these vulnerabilities that weren't being patched because the routers were no longer being given security updates, right? Like this stuff happens. And it doesn't matter whose router did what. It's just, this is the router industry. A lot of times they hit walls. A lot of times their processors are pretty weak. They just can't be updated anymore. Or the companies just don't bother because it's a financial burden. And they just say, well, the answer is buy a new router. So the United States is responding saying, well, China could hack the entire United States ecosystem because 65% of routers sold in the United States come from China. Maybe we should ban everything from China. And that's what they've basically done. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about this kind of import of security updates. Apple was able to, they spent time and money and effort to patch these devices. They just didn't have it sitting around waiting. They had to expend man hours to patch this stuff appropriately and send out the updates. But now everyone owning those devices is now updated versus some of these older routers never being updated, because once they're sold and on the market, they might get one full firmware update and then never touched again, depending on the router. If we're talking about a $200 Netgear router or some other company, it probably will never get a security update. Whereas if you spend $1,000 on a mesh network, it'll probably get updates every week because they have you spend a bunch of money and they're willing to invest the time and energy in updating it. So that's what we're dealing with. And that's why it's so funny to me. You look at this stuff and how these industries work and how software and security works. And Apple is one of the very few companies, if not the only company, still worrying about decade-old computers.
Well, okay, there's one brief last thing I want to touch on, but there's a bridge here. There is Apple being good. Is this next thing a case of Apple being bad? Apple Maps gaining ads in the summer. What do you think?
We've done a show more or less on this before, or at least a segment of a show, and we can talk about this in the future. I don't want to pass judgment until I see what this looks like. The screenshots Apple provided seem pretty harmless. If anything, I kind of like the idea of the Spotlight section. So there's two things. You open up Apple Maps, you see Apple Maps. That's not changing. You tap on the search field, and then it fills up the screen as it does. But in that drawer that appears, along with recent searches, pinned favorites, one of the categories is going to be suggested or whatever, some kind of suggested field. That has the ability to have ad placement. Basically, a company in your region could pay to be in the suggested field, and it will be shown labeled with an ad. And then when you tap in the search bar again to start typing, the top result will be labeled and be an ad paid for by a local business. And Apple has actually revamped their entire business features. They've made it free and accessible, which is key here, because I know of many bars and restaurants in my area that are not going to pay for business access to do any of this, to manage their Apple Maps information. So it's all very interesting what they're doing here. But
if you place an ad, you pay. So, yeah. But you're saying listing ability, the tools for managing your information on these services
is free.
That's gone free. That's interesting, because it used to be a subscription, didn't it? Which they've shut down for this. Okay,
fairly certain that portion has gone free. So, because like if my local bar wants to claim its business on Apple Maps, it can now create an Apple business account and manage that for free, I believe, which is key here, because Google has been doing this forever. And you can see the businesses that have claimed ownership or not claimed ownership in Apple Maps, and it is a stark difference in their presentation. Anyway, so that is encouraging, and I'm going to be talking to local business owners about that at some point, because I, for some reason, talk to local business owners sometimes when I'm out and about.
They're fine people. Why wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, they're good people. I just encountered them. So, we got to wrap up. So I was going to say, for my eye, from what I'm seeing here, this is fine. And I know people are freaking out. Apple ads. The problem is, and I will acknowledge this, I wrote a blog post about it. Apple ads won't hurt you. Apple spent the better part of the 2015 to 2020 timeframe talking about how terrible ads can be, because they were tracking users and their habits, and they're intrusive, and surveillance capitalism and data brokers and all this stuff. Like, Apple was really pushing that hard. And then in the last 5 years or so, Apple's entered the ad race very specifically. But I will say, differently from the people that they were pointing out, Apple is not Meta. They are not Google. They are not Amazon. They are not tracking you. They are not using your data. This is very much like having a billboard on the highway. Or in my blog post, I compared it to the Yellow Pages. Do you guys have Yellow Pages? Phone books?
Yes, we did. Massive books originally, pamphlets now, but we had them.
Yeah. So very much the same. I'm sure listeners here are of the age group that know this, but I'll say it anyway. It wasn't that long ago that you'd get a giant book delivered to your doorstep.
Yes.
That had everyone in your region's phone number listed. You could get it delisted if you wanted, and some people did. I believe you had to pay for the privilege.
Yeah, we did here, yes.
Yeah, but your phone number and sometimes even home address was listed in this phone book. Whereas today, we treat our phone number no differently than our social security number. You can't have that. That's mine. And so that is what Apple is working with. The bare minimum basics of, hey, you personally have this search history. You personally have these pinned places. It's all on-device information being processed by an algorithm. Apple is touching none of it. It's not going to any Apple servers. And part of that is being distilled with an ads-based auctioning algorithm that's getting you an ad showed in your search result or in your suggested feed. It's private. It's secure. It's not the BS peddled by these other companies who claim that they're not using your data when they actually have shadow profiles of you. I think it's fine. We'll see how it's implemented for real, but from on its face, it's fine.
The important thing to take out of all of that is that you said Billboard on the Highway, and I think that should be the name of your first album. Mm-hmm. So if you work on that, should any local business people or anyone want to get in touch with you, how would they do that best?
Yeah, tell me about what you think of this on Blue Sky, Hilly.tech. I know it's a controversial opinion. I know Apple nerds. Look, I was the guy who, when I was like 23 or something, when Apple was really pushing this hard, when I was the guy out there saying, I will never see another ad if I can help it. I'm paying every dollar I can. I never want to see another ad, period. In the web, in any interface, on Netflix, nothing. No ads. And I still generally agree with that point of view when it comes to like video streaming and stuff. But ads do have their place. They are not evil.
Sure.
It's just these companies have abused them for so long. So please reach out and let me know. Wes at AppleInsider.com is my email. And of course, you can reach me on Mastodon as well, Hilly Tech. Happy to hear your opinions on this. I want to see how Apple does this. We're only going to see more Apple involvement in advertising. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. But
as long as it's tastefully done, I think it's fine. Because this is one last thing, William, because I know we got to close up. It's just, this has been on my mind lately. Mm-hmm. Apple will make money from this, no doubt. It's a very small amount of money compared to the rest of their business. That is not theoretically why they're doing this. I think this is I think this is, it's partially services and they get to say, we make money from ads, whatever. Yes, that is part of it. But the other half of this is empowering businesses, right? What's the point of bothering with Apple Maps at all if you have no financial incentive to do so? Right? Now Apple gets to actually make Apple Maps into a business where businesses care to be seen, care to be shown. There's reviews, there's photos. They have their own personal pages that they edit, and they get to pay a few bucks and get shown in results to attract customers. Like, that is an ecosystem they understand. Google has been doing this for years. It makes sense as an offering. The only place Apple ads are truly broken is Apple News because they're garbage, and I really hope Apple fixes that at some point. But their App Store and Apple Maps ads, I think, makes sense from the standpoint of just general business practice. Advertising has been a thing for all of human history. It's not going away. And I think Apple has the ability to do this tastefully. That's all.
It has the ability. It has an offering. I'll be very curious to see how businesses do or don't take to it. That'll be the killer for this. Originally, I started by saying how people can reach you, just in case anybody wants to reach me instead. It'd be nice, hello. William at AppleInsider.com is best. 58 Keys on YouTube. I wasn't going to say this, but we just had a live 58 Keys that went totally wrong. So, there's comedy value there. Email might be safer in that case. But otherwise, so say thank you now for listening. Remember App Insider Plus in just a moment about planned obsolescence. But in the meantime, our sponsors this week were Squarespace, Nordstellar and Claude by Anthropic. Thank you to all of them. And we and Wes and I will speak again next week.
Yep, talk soon.